Bank. I'm Yohann, your host for this session, and thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute our topics, have anything to say, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. Now let's jump right into it. Today's topic is all about mental health, and we have a special guest for the show, Dr. Shobitha, who is the principal of Global School of Counselling, Bangalore. It's indeed a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thank you.
So for this edition of the Reality Bank, Dr. Shobitha and I will be having a discussion regarding mental health and give you guys a better viewpoint of this topic. So my first and foremost question is, now many people talk about mental health, but what are the core components of mental health awareness?
See, different people categorize it very differently as far as the components is concerned, right? It also
Yeah.
depends upon if one is looking at it from a disorder perspective or if one is looking at it from a life stage or a stressful perspective. But on the whole, what we have to keep in mind when we're talking about mental health awareness is the three main components for the self. That is the cognition, the emotion, and the behavior. So when I say cognition, we're talking about a thought process. This
Okay.
thoughts that we have is something that keeps running throughout the day, right? Some researchers have shown that on an average, we end up having like about 6,000 odd thoughts in our mind that's constantly going on and on. Now, these thoughts may be good, may be bad, and they are prone for errors. These thoughts are prone for bias because it's coming from our perception of how we have grown up, from where our context is coming from. So it's important to be aware of these thoughts and what these thoughts and how they are impacting us. That's very important. The second component we have to keep in mind is our emotional health. So emotions basically comprise of how I feel. It's important to have emotions because they are a driving force. Say, for example, it gives me the desire to live. It motivates me to do something, achieve something in life, because that gives me a sense of happiness. When I am in danger, these emotions save me and protect me. Because from those emotions is where I pick up thoughts about, you know what, I'm in danger, I have to protect myself, I have to save myself, I have to run away from the place, right? So emotions have a lot of function in our everyday life and in our everyday well-being as well. But again, like our cognitions, these emotions are also prone for errors and they are also prone for bias. So it's important to be aware. One of the primary thing of how I can become aware of my emotion, the first thing is I have to be able to name it. I should know what is the emotion that I am going through. We have a primary of about 7 or 8 emotions like happiness, joy, jealousy, sadness, fear, anger. So these are primary emotions. But along with that, we also have a lot of categorized emotions under these. Like, for example, I can have frustration, irritation, disappointment, all of this categorized under anger. I can have fearfulness, I can have disgust under jealousy, right? I can have joy, elation, ecstasy under happiness. So every emotion has a lot of categorization that is done into it, and we have to become aware of it because that will give us the understanding of the intensity of the emotion I am feeling at a given point of time. So emotional health is the second aspect of it. The third aspect of it is a behavioral health. Now, to a larger extent, our cognitions and our emotions determine how we behave to a certain degree. Uh, Irrespective of emotions, can I have a certain way of behaving? Yes. If we are already used to it and if we have been doing this on a daily basis, yes, we will be having that, right? But apart from that, the way we behave is most of the time is a reaction to what I think and also to what I'm receiving from the people in front of me. So behavioral health is very, very important. So in all of this, there is a connection. We have to understand that if I'm feeling a particular way, I need to stop. I need to think what is making me feel the way I'm feeling, link it with the thought process that is happening, and see how I can change the way I behave depending on the level of awareness I have about it. That will show the level of maturity I'm having, that will show the level of emotional or mental understanding I have about myself. The most important aspect of that is, as an individual, I need to have all these three: cognition, emotion, and behavioral health. Now, I have to link it with my surrounding. I have to link it, give it a context. How do I understand others around me? Where is the context coming from? Right? So I need to contextualize that. So these are important aspects that we have to keep in mind when we're talking about mental health awareness.
Yeah. Now, coming up to the next question. Now, what is depression really, and how can people fight against depression?
Okay. Uh, Depression in itself is not a condition. Depression is a group of symptoms. It's a group of condition, right? So if you look at depression, there are various features to it. The primary feature of depression being feeling sad, constantly feeling sad. Nothing is making me happy. Okay, I can my people around me can joke about things. People around me can do a lot of things to make me happy. I can achieve a lot of things in my life by my own effort and everything, but nothing is giving me the sense of satisfaction. It's not giving me happiness. It's not giving me pleasure. So throughout, I'm feeling sad. The next feature, basic feature of depression, if you look at, is I have lost interest in what I used to like to do before. Like, for example, I might have loved to do various hobbies like painting or reading books or spending time with family members, going out on a trip. Now, when I'm depressed, I don't feel like doing all of that. I have lost interest in them. Okay. The other main feature of depression is feeling tired. More than tired, we use the term fatigue. You constantly feel exhausted. You are not able to do or focus on the work at hand. You just want to just lie down and not do anything and not think about anything. So these are the primary features of depression. Apart from that, there are other things like, for example, some people may have disturbed sleep. Some people's appetite will go for a toss. Either they will end up eating too much or end up not eating at all, not feeling hungry in the first place. Some people, they will start having suicidal ideas. What is the point of living, right? That's the extreme end of depression, where I have lost all hope. I don't feel nothing is going to help me, or the situation of mine will never change at all. And there are some people who end up start feeling guilty most often. So anything and everything that happens around them, they feel it is because of them. They are at fault. Okay, so there are different features of depression. Now, how do we fight depression? First thing is we have to become aware that this is depression. It is a condition. It's a disorder that needs to be treated. One of the reasons why depression happens is stress. An extreme stressful or constantly prolonged stress exposure can lead to hormonal imbalance in people, or it can lead to endocrine imbalance in the brain functionings as well. Sometimes it can just be stress. So it is important to identify what has led to a depression episode in the first place. Becoming aware that these are symptoms of depression and that can be treated. Second thing is being ready to take help. Most often, at least in our cultural context, if you see, taking help for a psychiatric disorder is looked at as a very stigmatized situation. Even now, things have improved quite a bit from before, but still people find it difficult to seek help for psychiatric disorders. So it's important to be ready to take help. It's important to go for therapy. It's important to deal with the stress, learn how different coping mechanisms are there, identify what kind of coping I'm using. Has it helped me? If it does not help me, what else can I do about it? So one of the people have to be ready to accept that I have a problem and it is okay, it can be dealt with, and I need to ask for help. That's a very, very important thing that uh, mental health awareness aspect of it is one is self-awareness, two, awareness of the family members. Sometimes there are many people whom we have met where said, I want to take help, I want to take treatment, but my family is not ready. They don't want me to go for help. They are telling me to, do things that, or just talk to them or do other things, and I will get well. They are not understanding that I'm going through a problem and I need help for it. So families awareness and families cooperation and support system is very, very important. So fighting depression by themselves, it's very difficult for people to do it. They need help, they need additional help, and this is something that all of us have to be aware of.
Yeah. Now, my third question now. In life, we are gonna be rejected plenty of times. So how do we learn to take no as an answer?
Um, Yeah, the current scenario, especially after the COVID, it's mostly what I want, I need it right now. That's
Yeah.
the scenario that is being played out in most of our children's lives, right? So taking no for an answer is the most difficult thing to do. So this is something that we have to train our children from their young age, and this training is something that starts off at home. This is not that is something that will start off anywhere else. This is something that starts at home. The other aspect is even as an adult, if we have reached a phase where we find it difficult to take no, few things that can help out is preparing ourselves before we go into a situation where we anticipate that someone is going to say no, probably. Like, for example, you have to go for a meeting with the manager, or you're going to go talk to your teacher about something, or you're going to ask your friend or your parents about something. Anticipate, prepare what are the possible reactions or responses that you can expect from the other person. So most often we get shocked because we are not prepared for it. Inside our head we are ready that whatever it is they will say no. However it is to be done, I will get the work done. So that is not a good way to go, because if the other person is very firm and then says no, then we are going to get hurt at the end of the day, right? So it's important to go prepared for what anticipatory responses of the other person. Second thing is, while we are in the situation, we have to understand how we communicate with the other person. So even if they say
Yeah.
no, the way we talk to them can help us in negotiating terms and conditions. It doesn't have to be an absolute no. We might be able to probably reach a midway depending upon the context and conditions in which we are going to talk to the other person. So we have to learn to make sure that our emotions are in check, not lose our emotions when someone says no, accept what they are saying, try and clarify what is their perception. Why are they saying no? What is their understanding? Where are they coming from? And if you feel that you know what, there is a point where we can negotiate, there are aspects where I can compromise, learn to talk about it, discuss about it, negotiate, and learn on reach a midpoint between the both of the person. So it's an easier way where you don't lose everything, neither the other person loses everything, right? It's when we in our communication, when we corner people and put them in a place where they don't have a choice but to defend themselves, is when we see a lot of emotions flaring up, right? It doesn't always have to be anger. Sometimes we shut off people, we are not very happy, we kind of shut down people, and we go into a cocoon within ourselves. We don't want to talk about it, we don't want to deal with that emotion, and that just makes things even worse. Getting angry on the other hand and flaring out at people is also not going to help, and me shutting down and going into my own shell is also not going to help, right? But being midway and trying to learn to communicate about it is something that will help both individuals in that context.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a slight example of uh, just taking no for an answer. So during my 11th and 12th, so we had a college fest, and for the college fest, like a group of us, like a total of four, yeah, around four of us, like we decided, okay, we'll go for group singing and hopefully we'll get a chance to perform on the main stage. So in the audition phase, like during our 11th, like we failed really miserably because we hadn't practiced at all. We hadn't, framed anything, nothing. We just went out there and we decided, okay, let's do it. If we get in, we get it.
Mm.
So, but we weren't prepared for that no. And when we got the no, we kind of lost our edge in literally everything. So the next year came along and I had to convince every single person. I had to be like, okay, we got the no. How now this time we can make it a yes because we have gotten a lot better over the year. So why not give it a shot? And most of them they were like hardly three of them they were like, no, we can't do it. Like we'll get another no, and if we get another no, it's going to be really bad. So I told, don't go in with the intention that you're going to get the no. Go in with the intention it could be a yes or a no. Be neutral on the topic. So we went in, we performed, and we got the yes. Finally, we got the yes, and we ended up performing on the stage, and we got a second place in the entire uh, fest. So that's when I told them like we are going in with the intention to perform. We are not going in the intention to win. We're not going there with the intention to lose. We are just going there to make things right. We're going there to do our best. And whenever we do our best, we are going to succeed some point in life. So just keep doing your best.
Right.
So
That's a great example, Yohann. This is the preparedness that I was explaining about. So when we are prepared, then things are a little more easier that way. But sometimes what happens is there can be situations in relationships, right? When suddenly people say no and then they just walk off and this person gets hurt because they would have invested in that relationship for a lot, right? It's not just finances, it's not just time. They would have invested in that person themselves. So when those kind of no's come, trying to deal with it on your own is okay, fair enough, good, go ahead and do it by yourself. But I would say take help. Talk to someone whom you feel can support you at that point of time, right? Because those are fields where it can shake your very core of who you are. You will start questioning yourself right now. Am I not good enough? You start ending up asking questions like that. So if you feel that your cognitions are going in that line, it's better to stop. Stop, step back, identify what is happening. Never let someone else affect you or impact you that much because you know who you are. You have literally spent your entire life becoming who you are, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, growing up immature in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your behavior, doing tough things which you felt you wouldn't have ever done before. So you are strong, you are unique in yourself, right? So if someone is saying a no, before internalizing it and personalizing it, that this is all, this is me, I am a failure. Before internalizing that, stop the process, find out what is happening. Why did the person say no? What is it that I can learn for myself and grow from that situation instead of getting stuck in that situation and not being able to move on further in life?
Yeah. Now, my next question is we have many of these influencers on social media who give advice about depression and mental health. Now, is it important to take the advice? Because we know most of them are not giving the right advice, they're just giving a whole bunch of, mumbo jumbo. So, what is your opinion on that?
See, first we have to know the authenticity of the person who's giving the information about depression. Preferably, clarify the credentials of the person who is giving out the information, because sometimes it can be people who have overcome depression. So if you want to look at it as a life lesson, that's different. But will all that information be correct? May not be right, because depression will not be the same for all of us. It'll be different for everyone. That is one aspect of it. Preferably go with the credentials if they are trained psychiatrists, because then they know what is the intensity, at what point you have to reach out for help. So I would say preferably going for people who have credentials, who have been trained in this aspect. It can be either psychiatrists, it can be trained therapists in that field, individual therapists who have been trained in that field. So talk to people who know what the content of the subject is. In today's world, you can go on to Google or ChatGPT. You can just ask what it is, and you will get a whole load of answer, right? But the most important thing is, where do you stop about that information, and how do you interpret? That is very important. And that is something that only a professional who has been trained in that field will be able to assist you with. So I would say go with the authenticity, know the credentials of the person who is giving out the information. And then if you still feel that it is okay, go for a second opinion, talk to someone who is in the field, and then filter the information and take it. Know how much you have to take and how much you should not take in that process.
Yeah. Also, I like to just bring in something. So there's this guy called David Goggins. He's a writer and he's a motivational speaker and he's a Navy SEAL as well. So he has various things to say. Now, in regards to mental health, like when I was at a low point in my life, I used to listen to him a lot, and he used to tell, like, whatever challenges are there. So there are multiple amount of challenges. Don't take them with a negative sense. Always take them with a positive sense. So if life gets hard, like things are not good at your job, things are not good with your friends, like always take it in a positive sense. There's always a solution for each one of these problems, and that'll enhance your problem solving capabilities, and that will also enhance your capacity to how much you can actually handle, and that'll make you more of a winner, and that'll help you to keep going forward. So he really helped you a lot. So yeah.
Sure, there are a lot of good writers out there, a lot of good speakers, there are a lot of good podcasts going on. Go ahead and listen to them, but see what will work for you. What
Yeah,
works for one person may not work for the other person, right? And
exactly.
sometimes it is not just the concept of the stress, ongoing, prolonged stress. We should know at what point it becomes a disorder.
Yeah,
So it starts off as one thing, but then it can end up as something else if we let it go untreated at the earliest. So that's where the discretion comes in. So let's use the wisdom God has given us and see at what point we have to take help and what point is just a motivation that I need to push myself out of it.
yeah. Now coming on to my final question. Now, how do our emotions affect our decision making?
Okay. Like I said, emotions come out of the thought process that we go through, right? So our thoughts are directly is something that is associated with a decision-making process. So everything happens inside our brain, and emotions, to a larger extent, will become the bias for us to portray what we are portraying to others, right? So if I am angry, I will look at everything around me as anger. I will perceive it from the sense of emotion of anger. So even if someone is trying to come and help me at that point of time, I will think that they are frustrated or they are irritated. Anything that they say will put me off, right? So emotions will cloud my decision making process. That's also primarily because the parts of the brain that is involved in processing my emotion, some parts of it is also responsible for the decisions I make. So when I'm clouded with my emotions, I'm extremely processing everything only from the way I feel. So I'm not looking at facts. I'm not looking at logic. I'm looking at emotions. And the one important thing about emotions is they are the most temporary things. You just take yourself out of that situation that is causing you distress. Within a few minutes, you will find you have calmed down. That's how fleeting emotions can be. Some emotions are stronger. You need a lot more time to get out of it. But some emotions are very, very fleeting, right? So, in that fleeting moment of an emotion, if I'm making a decision, it may not be right. It will impact the way I'm making my decision. So in my anger, I might say that, oh, my parents do not love me because they're always correcting me. I'm upset that I'm not getting my way through, and I'm looking my parents' correction or disciplining through the same narrative of me being upset about it, me being not able to get my way through whatever I want. So I will perceive the discipline as something bad because I'm upset that I'm not able to get what I want. I'm not able to immediately gratify my needs, and therefore I'm upset. Correct? So the same thing goes in all situations. If I am in an emotional state, my decisions are going to be clouded by the emotions. So it's important that when I'm feeling emotional, I have to take a step back, find out what emotion I'm going through, why I'm going through that, and then make a decision out of that. Most of us have gone through the similar experience, right? In the heightened sense of emotion, when someone says no, we will just say, okay, fine, do what you want, and we would have walked off. And in a heightened sense of emotion, we would have ended up making mistakes in our work, right? Some work where we have to focus because I'm highly emotional. I had a conflict with a colleague, or I had a bad day with my manager. I've come back and in that same sense of heightened emotion, sadness or irritation or frustration, I'm trying to do a work and I have made mistakes in my work. People have locked themselves out of the houses because they are frustrated and they just banged the door and it has got locked, right? Simple things to major life decisions. I choose my life partner in reaction to my parents saying no to that person. In my anger, I'm deciding that I'm going to get married to that person. Would it be right? Why
No,
not be,
absolutely.
right? So, small decisions, big decisions. If we are emotional, it is definitely going to cloud our decision making. Emotion is important, but we have to also understand what is the balance between emotions and my thought process. That will in turn affect how I'm behaving for both for myself and in front of the people with me.
Yeah. Now, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A huge thank you to Dr. Shobitha for giving us your valuable information into this topic. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys want to contribute to our topics, have anything to say, or just want to tell us what an amazing job you're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of The Reality Bank, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Yohann. Hope you're having an amazing week, and I'll see you next